It's day 8 of the jam today, which for me is my last day to do anything if I want to really change the build that I've got online, because for the last 2 days I have to go to work. So I've been thinking about this kind of like late last night and this morning. The planet that I put in was this one here, and I think that actually looks pretty decent in the game, but I found lots of others as well. So I think I can still do something with the planet theme, but just not what I'd originally planned to do. But maybe I can just make it much, much simpler using what I've already done. So I've already got the code and the graphics in there to track down a planet using the direction indicator and the distance thing. I've already got something which I was doing as a kind of like a target lock. So what I was thinking is perhaps instead of having that as a target lock, that actually looks a little bit like a shield outside the planet, and maybe that can be what it is. So your aim of the game is to actually go, and if I render them very small instead of very large, it could be that we've got lots of tiny planets in a part of the solar system where you've got very heavy asteroid activity and the planets are being damaged by the asteroids, and so you have to protect them by deploying shields. And so it still is basically the asteroids shoot them up, but you're tracking down planets each time and then deploying a shield on them, give you a big score, and then you just basically carry on going until your shields run out and you blow up and you die. So it's a suicide mission. That's actually quite sad. Anyway, that's what I'm thinking. I think that's doable within the time that I've got left, because I've already got most of it in place. I've just got to kind of like repurpose everything. One thing that I have noticed, it's not so much that I've noticed, I really don't like that frame, that HUD frame that I put in. So I think I'm going to have to undo quite a bit of what I did yesterday, but that's how it goes. So yeah, this is going to be pretty much the last day of development. I don't want to be doing things at the last minute before I've got to go to work. So whatever I get done by the end of today, that's going in the jam. I'm kind of getting somewhere, but it's taking far too long. So I've dumped a random planet on the graphic here, so obviously I couldn't use the old one anymore. So I'll just show you what I've got and then kind of explain what's going on. So play the game. I've now got a completely different UI. So I realized after I recorded the early part of the video saying that you're basically on a suicide mission, I thought, that's not really going to fit with the kind of, you know, save the world type of vibe that I'm going for. So what I thought instead is we need a win condition. So I've got 12 planets and here they all are. What I'll do is at the start of the game, these will all be kind of like grayed out. And the idea is you have to go save all 12. So the direction indicator down here, this is now pointing us towards the first planet. So if I start going over there, it's going to gradually, you know, you'll find your way over to the planet. Actually, I'm just going to... No, I won't start it again. I'll start it again in a minute because there's something else I need to show you as well, which you've probably noticed already. Where has the planet gone? Okay. So, at the moment, I haven't really changed anything here. But this kind of glowing spinny thing, that's going to be like a shield. So what I'll probably do is have it so that once you start to get within a certain range, I'll have a sequence kick in. So talking of sequences, if I just stop and restart. Okay, if I can draw your attention to this text panel down here. So I've now got in a kind of a scripted sequence, and I've managed to do this with scriptable objects. It's actually pretty easy to do, so I can now have like a sequence of text messages that come up, and if I very much doubt this, but if I had time to do a kind of like a voice acting thing with like an AI voice, then that could kind of speak it out at the same time. I doubt very much I'll have time for that, but the mechanism is in place. So the idea being, if I now head over towards the planet, what I want is so that when you get within range of the planet, so once it becomes visible on the screen, just go over to it. Okay. Notice also it's bigger this time. The planets are going to spawn kind of a random size. So once you get within a certain range, I want to have a new sequence initiate, which is basically going to kind of freeze the player in place and then have something like target acquired, deploying shields, maybe some kind of animation, and then this shield will be on there, and then that particular planet will unlock in the GUI, and then the next planet will be acquired, and on you go. And so then that's basically the idea of the game, to get to all 12 planets and try to deploy shields on all of them without blowing up your ship. If you manage to do all 12, you've won. That's what I'm trying to do. I thought I'd try the voice thing just to see if I could get it working and what it would sound like. I actually can't believe how easy it was to do. So if I play the game now, let me just get rid of these things.
Welcome aboard, Commander. All controls are standard and ready for operation. You may rotate the ship in either direction. Engage the thruster to accelerate. Activate the laser gun to engage targets.
So all I've had to do there, so I'm using this website called 11 Labs. I heard about them a couple of years ago, actually, when I was consulting for a marketing company. And basically you select a voice to use, you put in your clip, it generates a speech. You can fiddle around with various things. In my game, it was really easy to do because I already had an audio manager, so all I had to do was put in another audio source. One thing I will have to do is change the UI in the menu so that we've got a volume slider for the voice, and then I already had the system in place. Let me just show you. So what I had already done was I'd set up a scriptable object. Have I shown you that? I don't think I have, actually. For a sequence, which is just basically a mission sequence, which is a bit of text, which is what's displayed, the delay, how long it should take, and then a voice clip. And so now I've just put the voice clips in. So this is the welcome sequence, so the welcome aboard. Some of these I felt like they needed to be a little bit longer because the text is a bit longer. So of course, now that I've got the audio, I can get a feel for how long I want it to last, you see. So this one will probably be, you know, a bit of a shorter one. So if I play that again now, I can just tweak these things with data without having to touch any code, and it should all just work.
All controls are standard and ready for operation.
Yeah, that one needs to be longer.
You may rotate the ship in either direction. Engage the thruster to accelerate. Activate the laser gun to engage targets.
I think it's cute. I think it adds some personality, and it also means that I know people do not like to read. So as long as they've got their volume up, it means that they can just like jump in, play the game, and not even have to read it, and they should know what they're doing. So the next thing I'll be putting in now another sequence to basically tell the player what the story is, what the whole thing is with the planets, you know, what things are for. So I think it's coming together. This voice acting, I think, is something that could be used in all sorts of different games, and it's easy to do, and it also doesn't cost any money. I'm making some really good progress, but I've just kind of hit a problem. So for the moment, I've turned off the first couple of sequences. So what I've been working on now is getting the kind of ship locking onto the planet to deploy the shields. I've turned off the asteroids for the moment. So when you start the game, all of these icons are kind of grayed out to show that
starting shield deployment. This will just take a few moments.
So this automatically
planetary shield deployment complete.
Right, so that looked like it worked. So it approaches the planet, the ship slows down, you can't control it. We get this little graphic here, you get a message over here, and then this unlocks to show, right, I've unlocked the first planet, and then we get to the second one. So now we can move towards the second planet, and here is where things go wrong.
Starting shield deployment.
So
this
again,
will just take a few moments.
Can't move the player. Something has gone wrong there with the
planetary
graphics.
Shield deployment complete.
I also need to blank this out once that sequence is finished. So something's basically obscuring the planet, and it's all gone horribly wrong. And now it's also unlocking 2 of 3 of them when it should only be 1. and I don't know where the planet has gone. But I think I know what it is. So I had misunderstood the event system. I've got a whole event driven system. I've got lots of different classes kind of interacting. I've got both the ship computer and the ship controller, which are on the ship, obviously. The ship computer is listening out for a collision with the planet. Once it gets in there, it fires off an event to say we've reached the target planet, and then everything else starts kind of reacting to that. What I didn't realize is that I'd just been making all of these static, and I think it's one of these copy and paste type errors. When I first looked at events, and this was when I was working on my last game, Toasty Tumble, this just kind of worked, and it just didn't even occur to me, oh, this is static. So what this is doing is it's firing off these events for the entire class. And so in the case of the planet in particular, I've got 12 individual planets, but this is broadcasting the event, and all the other classes which are listening for that event are going to get it for every planet and not just the target one. So I'm going to have to kind of rethink how I've done that code. I'm going to have to kind of like go back to the start of the sequence, because it is like this sequence of things, different classes interacted. It's quite complicated. Well, it's complicated for my brain at this stage of the day, and this is my issue now. It's 10 p.m. But the problem is I've got to go to work tomorrow. I don't think I can risk leaving it until tomorrow. But on the other hand, I can feel at this point my brain function has just kind of gone downhill. So I think I'll have a little bit more of a go of it. So for like another hour or so. But yeah, I'm just going to have to try and go on a little bit. But if I start to get too tired, there's just no point, because I'll probably just end up introducing more bugs and just making it worse.